Hey everybody, welcome back to Halfshelltoys and Collectibles. In today's episode, we've got about 7-8 orders to pull. We're having a really slow start to November. The last couple of days, we've had sales that were just in the dumps. So I think one day we had like $60 worth of sales, and another day it was like, I think we sold one sports card. So like $1. So pretty bad start to November. But super thankful for those days in October where we had well over our goal of $125 a day. Really helps make up for the days that you can't quite get there. So we've got those orders to pull. Let's go ahead and get to that.
When the lights go out, I'm down to one last breath, but I can't.
So the first item that we've got to pull is a Star Wars figure. And I believe, let me pull it up here. It is a Hoth Rebel, and that's what it looks like. And it's a Hoth Rebel soldier, and that's going to be an A9. So let's go ahead and pull that out. A9. Let's see here. Okay. All right, so here's A9. I believe it's on the green card. Nope. Not on that side. I think that's it right there. Yep, there he is. Pretty nice figure. So he does have a little bit of wave in his card, but besides that, he's in pretty nice shape. And he sold for $5.94 plus shipping. And the lot that we got him in is paid off, so he's pure profit. So the low value sale doesn't really hurt as bad if the money's already been made. So he's pure profit at this point. The buyer paid $5.99 for shipping for that. So the next item we have to pull is actually a Christmas item, and it is a group of 3 Santa Claus that were made in Japan. So they're definitely vintage. Anytime you find Christmas decorations that are made in Hong Kong, Japan, or Taiwan, they're definitely before they started making stuff in China. So they are definitely vintage, probably early 80s and later for the items that are made in Taiwan, Japan, and Hong Kong. So these are the little Santa Claus figurines, and they're not too bad in size. They're probably like 3.5, 4 inches tall. And that group sold for $25 plus shipping. The buyer paid $11.55 for shipping on that one. So not bad. Christmas stuff is starting to leave the store almost every day now, which is exactly what we like to see this time of year, because we have a ton of Christmas stuff to list, guys. I probably have 20 totes of Christmas stuff just sitting at my shop that hasn't been listed yet. And then I have like a small loft, like I want to say it's like an 8x8 loft in my shop that's full of nutcrackers and other Christmas items. I have tons of Christmas stuff to sell. So I like seeing it leave the store on a daily basis this time of year. So our next item we're pulling is a 1968 Empire blow mold, and it's a Santa Claus, and he's 13 inches tall. This is the listing photo from eBay, and he didn't sell for a ton, and you'll see here in a minute. He's over here on the wall. He's not in the best condition, but still a vintage blow mold from the 60s. And he's got a brand new LED light and a brand new cord. and still a really cool vintage piece. So this is the Santa Claus, and he's got a lot of paint issues. So for somebody who's really good at restoring these, you know, it could be a really good piece to restore. Or if you like just the rustic look, then he's still in really good shape otherwise. But if you guys are looking at these on the back here, it says Empire and it says 1968. So pretty awesome vintage piece. Love that kind of stuff. And the next item we got to pull is also vintage Christmas. And they are some wooden miniature Christmas ornaments. And there's a bunch of different ones in here. I'll show you guys when we get it pulled out. And it's in A44 out here in the shop. A44. All right. And there's Santa Claus. I want to say that they're back in here. Yep, there they are right there. A bag of wooden Christmas ornaments. And they're in used condition. They're not in like fabulous condition, but kind of get them spread out here for you guys to see. There's Santa Claus in there. There's angels. There's snowmen. There's bells and like toy related type ornaments like rocking horses and teddy bears. So a really cool vintage lot of wooden Christmas ornaments. And that lot sold for $22 plus shipping. The buyer spent $11.10 on shipping. All right, so for our next items, we're actually going to take a detour from Christmas and we're going to pull some toys. So the first toy we got to pull is Skeletor from Masters of the Universe. Now this one is a reissued figure or a remastered figure, however you want to say it. It is from 2020 and he is in A3. So A3, this is a pretty heavy tote because it's full of loose figures. All right, he should be pretty easy to find. Yeah, he's right there. I believe this is him. I do have some others listed, so we'll have to double check and make sure that that is the actual one that I need. I think it is. I think that's the one that we need to pull. So, and I've got to get into the order here to see what he's sold for. He sold for $12.74 plus shipping. So not bad there. The next one we need to pull is another Motu figure, and it's Leech from Masters of the Universe, and it's from 1984, and he is in A25. A25. Oh, it should be like right here. Yeah, right here on the bottom. Come on, stay up. All right. Yeah, there he is right there. This is a really cool figure. It's in a plastic case. I'll probably end up keeping the case. But the figure is in really good condition. And he still works. The suction on his mouth still works really well. His weapon's in really good condition. And the only thing about this guy is, So for those of you that collect vintage toys, you guys know this already, but for those of you that don't, the plastics that they used back in the 80s and in the 70s, not so much in the 90s, probably early 90s, some of the plastics would leach. It's kind of funny that's I'm talking about that with a leech figure, but they would start to break down and leach out this sticky residue. And this one has that. It's kind of sticky to the touch or leaves a residue on your fingers after you're handling it, but it will still display really well. So if it didn't have that issue, I could have sold it for more. But with that being the case, he is a complete figure and he sold for $15.29 plus shipping. And both of these items are being sold to the same person, and they paid $11.98 for shipping. We may not use all of that, so that'll help us go towards our profit on those two. And so the next item we got to pull is also a toy. It's more of a collector's toy, really. But it kind of fits in with Christmas a little bit. So it is an A32, and it is Jack from The Nightmare Before Christmas. So let's go ahead and go out and pull that A32. A32. Got to put this back. Got some vintage Star Wars in there. It's great stuff. All right, so A32 is right here. We just listed this last week or 2 weeks ago, something like that. So it didn't take very long for it to sell. But he is pretty big. The packaging is pretty big. So it's going to take quite a bit to ship it, unfortunately. But here it is. So that's Jack. And he's in his Santa suit. He's got his bag. And it's got a stand and everything for him to stand on. It's actually a pretty cool figure if you think about it. But they don't sell for a whole lot, which I was really surprised. When I picked this up in the lot of toys I picked up recently, I thought, man, it's going to sell for a lot of money. Nope. So he sold for $16.14 plus shipping, and the buyer paid almost $15 for shipping. We'll probably use all of that. All right, guys. So the next item, we're going to go back even further from Christmas. We're going to pick basically a Halloween item. So, and it's Halloween was what, last Friday? So this item is two vintage and recent vintage, probably like early 2000s. And they're tea light holders. They're two jack-o'-lanterns. And they're brand new. They still have the tags. I got a bunch of stuff like this from a pick. That's brand new stuff. Stuff that I sold some of it at a yard sale this year, but then I kept some of it as well. I threw these up on eBay, thinking to myself, these will not sell. These will not sell. But they did. They did so. So that's awesome. Get you guys turned around so you guys can see them. There they are right there. So pretty cool. They're kind of like whimsical, but they've got a place for a tea light in the back. Like I said, they're brand new with their tags, and it says 2003. So they are 22 years old, which falls right into the window for vintage. So 20 years is the industry standard for vintage. So those sold on offer for $9.68 plus $11.45 shipping. This person lives relatively close to me, and they did message me and ask if there was any left over from shipping, if they could get a discount on shipping, and I said that's fine. So I'd rather than be sold and gone, give the buyer back a couple bucks. Everybody's happy. So our next item we got to pull is actually another Christmas blow mold, and it's another Santa Claus. This one is a lot newer. This one is from 1996, and it's actually bigger as well, so it's going to be a little more difficult to ship. But this thing sold, guys, for a pretty good profit. Now we have like nothing into this, so it's a good money maker for us. So here is the Santa blow mold. He is like 20 inches tall, I believe. He's not very tall. He's in really good condition. He still has his tags. There's a little bit of scuffing, but not a ton. And he's all original. He has his original light. So he is from 1996, like I said, 20 inches tall. And he sold for $55.24 plus shipping. Now, here's the big thing. This is probably going to cost me $20 to ship, is my guess. 20 to 25 bucks. It may land right in the middle of that, 22 something. The buyer paid $44.40 for shipping on this thing. They didn't message me asking for a refund on shipping or nothing. So I'm going to ship it, keep the shipping money as long as they don't say anything. If they come back and say, I was hoping to get a discount on shipping, then I'll send them some money back. But in most cases, people just pay the shipping costs and they don't ever mention anything about it. So if that's the case, it just goes right into my profit column. So guys, that is all of the items that we sold in the last 24 hours. Pretty decent table of stuff. Not that vintage piece over there, but everything from this side is stuff that we sold in the last 24 hours. Not bad at all. And that is coming off of a day that was terrible. Yesterday was so bad. Well, I'll take that back. Monday, Tuesday was bad. And then sales started to roll in Wednesday afternoon. So I had 2.5 bad days maybe at the beginning of the week. And I tend to let that really bug me. My wife is always saying, you need to stop letting that get under your skin. But it does. It just does. So if you guys got some time, go back and watch the video that I put out the other day. It's very short. It's about 12 minutes long. And it just talks about basically the beginning of this week and how I was feeling and stuff. So check that out. And I may be right back and show you guys how we're going to ship this big guy. And then we'll call this video done. All right, guys. So we've got this 20-inch blow mold that we got to ship. And I need to make sure that I have a box to ship this guy in today. But he is exactly 20 inches tall. Maybe just a little bit shorter. But he is definitely going to need a box that's a foot wide by at least 22 inches and at least 10 inches deep. So 22 by 10 by 12 is kind of what I'm thinking. I don't know if I have one. I'm gonna have to go look and see if I can find a box for this guy. So I'm gonna take you guys with me. All right, guys, I'm at my shop. I'm looking at my boxes. So my boxes behind me, and I don't have anything big enough here for it. I've got some boxes back there, but they're also pretty small. But this box caught my eye. So I'm gonna have to take some measurements of this and see if this box will work. I think there's some toys in here, so I can go ahead and take those toys out, put them in a tote or something, and then use this box. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab my tape measure and see if it's big enough. All right, guys, I did find a different box, and it is 20 by 10 by 8 exactly. And I'm not positive if this is going to work, but we're going to give this a shot before we use that other box we found out in the shop. Just because this one, if it fits, you'll have to use less packing. But it's almost the exact same size as the blow mold, so it does fit. My only concern is there not being enough packing around it when I go to ship it. I hate shipping stuff with very minimal packing materials just to protect stuff. I usually like to have an inch or two around the item. This would only have like half an inch. So I'm going to throw some bubble wrap around this, and then we'll see what it looks like. All right, guys, so he's got a very healthy amount of bubble wrap around him. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put them in the box, put some craft paper around them, and see how it looks. I also need to put this in some bubble wrap as well. I decided to take the light out of the blow mold. It kind of sticks out of the back a couple inches, so it's just better off taking it out, rolling it up separately. Take some craft paper here, kind of add it in for extra support. Should be okay, guys. I think. I still always get super worried about things getting to the customer in good condition. I have only had 2 packages ever get damaged or messed up. So hopefully I'll bring you guys in here. So this is what it looks like. There's, like I was saying, about half an inch or so to an inch around all of the sides. Put some packing paper in there. And once it's all together, I think it's going to be pretty good. So let's go ahead and get this thing taped closed. Just had another sale. It's like another Star Wars figure sold. All right, so this thing nice and snugged in. I really think this is going to work, guys. Box looks pretty good. Doesn't look like it's poofed out a ton. So I think there's enough padding in there around it to make it work. I think what I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to cover this thing in, just cover it in fragile stickers. Even though it is plastic, I think it's just smart that we put a bunch of fragile stickers on here just so stuff is not being slammed on it and such. The other box, guys, would have been way too big. So hopefully that works, and hopefully it gets there safe. All right, guys, I think that's it for this one. Thanks for sticking around. seeing all the stuff that we sold in the last 24 hours, watching how we pack up some of these blow molds. This one was pretty tight in the box, but I think it's going to be
When
okay.
the lights go
So,
out, I'm down to
see you on the next one.
one last breath, but I can't stop now. We all fall down sometimes.